Hello, everyone. I'm Gus, and this is another episode of Askewed Reviews. And today I am reviewing a film that just recently came to theaters. The movie that I'm referring to is the 2026 film Iron Lung, directed and co written by Mark Fishbach, who you probably know much better as Markiplier. That's right, a guy who became famous for being on YouTube and doing all sorts of Let's Plays and different just videos about anything and everything he had an interest in, has in fact made his own movie. For this film, he was the producer, director, writer, and even the main star. If you weren't aware, Iron Lung is a movie that's based off of a video game of the same name. So let me tell you what the concept is here to see if it's something that you want to check out for yourselves. So this film takes place over 300 years into the future. A very strange event has occurred where all of the stars, planets, and anything on those have just vanished. The only thing left seems to be anyone who is out on space stations or spacecrafts in general that are just floating out in the abyss. Over time, the remaining people out in space seem to have the goal of discovering anything else that could be out there, finding resources, seeing if they can unlock or figure out the secret of what caused that event. Now, everyone who's still around has given that event the name the Quiet Rapture. Now, eventually, it is discovered that out here in this open expanse are actually some moons. They have oceans on them, but the oceans are comprised entirely of blood. So, in the interest of survival and understanding, they're going to create submarines that'll go down into this and see if they can discover anything that could help them. The people that go into these submarines are prisoners. They basically get the option of staying a prisoner or helping out with these expeditions and potentially gaining their freedom from it. In this film, we spend the vast majority of our time in one submarine that has been nicknamed the Iron Lung. And the one prisoner passenger that is on this is named Simon. Now, he has little to no training on what he's actually supposed to do now that he's in this ocean. The people running this mission do have a radio on the submarine. He also has a couple of guidebooks and supposedly a map of part of the area. The mission, as it's explained to Simon, is to make his way through this ocean, and as he does so, every once in a while, there's this camera system where he walks to the back of the submarine, presses a button, and it scans what's out in front of the submarine. After a while of just traversing and taking multiple pictures, a terrifying situation occurs where Simon ends up realizing he's not the only thing living down here. So, will Simon be able to complete his assignment, or will this blood ocean end up being his watery grave? When it comes to this film, the first thing I have to talk about is just how proud I am of Markiplier for accomplishing this goal. This movie was originally only going to show up in about 60 theaters. It was actually put out in 4,000 plus theaters. The reason I wanted to mention that is due to the fact that whatever your opinion is on this movie or even on the game, this is something that people should be mentioning. This is the proof that if you put in the time and effort, you can accomplish your goals. So, enough of me kissing Markiplier's ass. Let's get back to what I thought about the film itself. Now, I'm one of the people who did not play the video game, never even heard of the video game before actually seeing this movie. And of course, there's a part of me that wonders, is there anything I would have appreciated more or understood better if I did so beforehand? I still did really like this movie and found it fascinating and interesting. And I did a little research after the movie, and some of the questions that I still had weren't really answered, but you can decide to go into this either with or without any information and still have a good time. At least that's my opinion. This is definitely going to be a movie that leaves you with a lot of questions. And that's just because in general, the lore for the game, it's it's so in depth and yet so shallow at the same time. And what I mean by that is I love the story of the Quiet Rapture. I love the concept and the dread and the creepiness and the cosmic horror aspect of what's going on with the moon and more specifically the blood ocean. It definitely is a very out there concept that doesn't get much or any explanation of its origins or what this may lead to. If you've ever been a fan of Coheed and Cambria, they have great songs. But if you ever look into the stories or even the comic books that got made from those, there is a fascinating, deep, deep lore. But also at the same time, there's so much going on that it's like, I don't know if I get it or really truly understand this. Also, as for the character of Simon, they do give some of his backstory, not as much as I would have liked, but some of it. And I definitely have to applaud Markiplier because he kept the character interesting the entire time, as we're really just focused on him. There's a couple of voice actors and like pseudo flashbacks, but it really is just him. I would say one issue I do have with the film is it is a bit too long. They probably could have shaved some stuff off of that to make it more digestible for some people. Another thing I do want to mention is even though I didn't play the game, you can really see how the game was probably played. Just, being stuck in that situation of moving around very minimally, pressing buttons, and just interacting in that sense and dealing with what's happening around you, which I feel like some people may not like. I honestly really appreciated that fact and that they didn't try to add so much more into this. Like, let's give it more crew members. Let's have him really move around to different places. Let's throw in flashbacks to keep the audience interested. I like that they stuck to what I feel, anyway, the game really was. At least for me on my scale, I was originally going to give this a 3 out of 5, but I've grown such an appreciation for this film that I am going to give it a 4 out of 5. If you have an opportunity to watch this while it's in theaters, definitely go and check it out. If you've already seen it, let me know what you thought about it in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews. And I'm just curious, if you have played the video game out there, did you like, dislike, or feel about equal when it came to the movie compared to the game?